Okay, so we're going to work on the T-Bird again. This time it's a kind of weird story about the audio. Me and my buddy were headed to Indy to pick up a rental car for him, and we had the windows down because of course the AC does not work. And the audio just kept getting lower and lower and lower, and I'm like, what's going on here, you know? And I was like fading front, left, front, back, right, left, all this kind of stuff, and turning it up, changing the radio station, putting in a CD, all that kind of stuff, and it just dropped off to nothing. I mean, it just quit. So my first thought was, well, it's the head unit. You know, I put a secondhand aftermarket, I think it was a Kenwood CD player in there probably 5 years ago, maybe a lot longer than that probably, because I think I've had the car close to 10 years now, 8 years. So anyway, I went through all the trouble of swapping the head unit out, which not that big of a deal since I already had most of the, or I've done it before, and you know, I had the adapter for the connectors on, you know, between the factory connectors and the aftermarket stereo, but it didn't work. And I'm like, what the hell, you know? It just really didn't make sense. And then I thought, oh, my TurboCoupe has the premium sound with the amplifier and whatnot. It didn't dawn on me that I do not have the premium sound. So I tear apart the trunk, get all the carpet out because it's nasty, clean a little bit, and I'm all the way, I'm 6 foot 270. I'm all the way in the TurboCoupe's trunk. Cramped as hell. Trying to pull down that plate that pivots to, and supposedly that's where the amplifiers are mounted on the TurboCoupe. Well, apparently on the premium sounds there's 2 plates, I don't know, but this plate had ABS controller and some other thing on it, so then it hit me. Then there was no amplifier in this car. So while I was back there, I started taking down the 6x9s, or I guess they're not 6x9s, they're 4x6s or something like that, some weird size. I'm not real sure, I never measured them, I don't care. And I seen the first one I took down was really screwed up. So I thought, well, this might be it. And I happen to have 6x9s, and I'll show them in the video. I do replace the front ones as well, because turns out not a single speaker in the car was still working. I'm pretty sure at least 2 driver's front and maybe 1 in the rear went out at the same time. It was really weird. So anyway, we'll jump into replacement of the speakers. Let's see if I can get this while I'm in the trunk. This is the old speaker, be passenger side rear, and it's just got this kind of rubber band. There we go. That's all that's really holding it up there. And then of course the connector. Really hard to do one-handed here. Just slide it off as so you can. There you go. I'm hoping I might be able to just get spade terminals in there, because I don't really, I guess I could plug into the wires if I had to. I'll show you why these speakers have failed. Okay, and I've got these huge 6x9s which have, let's say 420 watt max, so they could take some serious power. But they don't quite fit up in here. Here, get some light on it. They don't quite fit up in here because of these tabs for that rubber band. You'll see it's hitting it. So I thought about cutting some of the plastic off right there where it says Pioneer, and then maybe it'll fit just in there So it looks like it's only got, you know, 3/8 of an inch to go before it bottoms out on the frame. I'll give that a go. Okay, so the new 6x9s are in, and the notch in the plastic, you just barely make it out right there over to there, was necessary. And I think I had to end up bending those tabs up a little bit too, and even then it barely fit in the recess of that sheet metal. And then I just had 4 self-drilling screws, and I don't remember what length they were, but they were just barely long enough to start the threads. And then I think the 6x9s came with these little pigtails, and then I just used those connectors to go into the old wiring. And see, that one's done. And these are like 400 watt, 420 max 6x9s, so I might eventually amplify them as well. But you see, this is just to get it going again right now, actually. Okay, here's the back speaker, and you can already see the cone itself. It's coming apart in a couple places, but the reason that it quit working, I believe, is full separation from the voice coil. Looks like the wires are still connected to the voice coil, but the actual paper cone itself is no longer connected. That's why they quit. There's a better shot from the top, and you can see right around here in the center, it's just a complete separation. Okay, up front, a similar situation, except I didn't use these crimp spade terminal things. I just soldered a piece of wire right to it, and then used that same connector up there. And I found these on eBay, 20 bucks. They're piles. I believe they're 100 watt, so they're, yeah, more than plentiful. Should sound pretty good. And there's a look at the finished project with the speaker bolted down. It fits nicely in place, 3.5 inch. Okay, so maybe you didn't learn a lot. I will say the biggest tip or trick for this whole video was that you can install 6x9s to the rear deck of the TurboCoupe, even though it only has holes for the 4x6s or whatever they are. But I did use self-drilling screws, and whatever I used, they were just barely long enough, and in fact one of them wasn't quite long enough. I did have to trim those plastic pieces to get past the rubber band anchors, but they will go in there. You got to drill some new holes for to mount these things. The front speakers, pain in the ass on the driver's side. You got to have a short socket and a ratchet to get to those screws, and the little connectors that I showed you, my God, was that hard. Very difficult for my big ass meat hooks to get in there and try to crimp that connector together. And I definitely used too small a wire off of those speakers on the front. My fault. There was cables provided in the box, and I just didn't see them. It had the right spade terminals, the small one and big one for positive and negative, and I didn't see them, so I went ahead and soldered wire to it. Well, the wire I soldered to it was way too small a gauge, and that little crimp connector on the passenger side did not make connection because it did not slice through the rubber or the PVC coating on the wire to make the connection on the actual copper braided wire on the inside. So I had to take that apart, and I actually just ended crimping on the outside and got it going. And then after I had it all done, that's when I found the wires. So look in the pot, as the Chinese say. Well, I should have known. The box is still kind of heavy, and it's just cardboard in there, and there they were. So I'll save them for a different set of speakers anyway. So yeah, I guess that's all I've got for the stereo part, or I guess the speakers part of the TurboCoupe video. If you want to actually see me do the head unit again, I'm thinking about putting in a Bluetooth head unit because I listen to all of my music through my phone. And I did have the opportunity to ride in somebody else's car that had a Bluetooth to FM transmitter adapter. Or no, it was not Bluetooth, I'm sorry. It had a headphone jack and an FM transmitter. And it was awful. It sounded like crap, it was low volume, it was completely awful. I hated it. So I'm actually thinking about trying to buy a Bluetooth head unit. I'm not really sure what to buy. I've got a Sony Explode head unit in there now, and supposedly it's 52 watt by 4 max, and it's really old and it doesn't really sound the best. Plus I've got those 420s 6x9s in the back. They almost need to be amplified because they can just take so much. But yeah, if anybody's got any suggestions, I'm open to it, and check you later.